Ty and that guy. I'm Wes Chatham, aka Midnight. This is my good friend Ty Franck, aka Ty Stick. Even though he doesn't like marijuana, he's immune to it. It doesn't have an effect on him.
I like the idea of marijuana. My wife is a partaker of the herb. It's legal in our state, so she's not violating any laws. I'm just allergic to it is the problem. Like, I wish I wasn't allergic to it because I watch my friends enjoying it, and I'm so jealous because it looks like they're having so much fun. And for whatever reason, I don't get the high effect of it. I just get sick. So
what kind of sick?
Yeah. If I eat edibles, I get really sick to my stomach.
Mm-hmm.
And if I'm around people who are smoking it, I just get a really bad sinus headache. And,
so you took that. I was gonna say to try the edibles.
Yeah, no, I've tried both, and neither of them makes me feel good. Neither of them gets me high. Both of them just make me sick. So, oh, and by the way, I used to think I was alone in this because I would tell people this. They're like, no, nobody's really allergic to pot. Breck's wife is allergic too.
Really?
Georgia. Yeah.
I know there's people that are allergic to alcohol.
Yes, that's actually very common in Asian communities is an allergy to alcohol.
And I'm like, you're either lucky or unlucky. Because you're lucky because alcohol doesn't become a part of your life, but you're unlucky because you don't get to enjoy a nice taste.
No, nature's trying to kill me because I have enormous alcohol tolerance and enjoy the taste of it, which many people who drink don't enjoy the taste of alcohol. So they just drink for the effect. I actually honestly enjoy making cocktails. I really enjoy the taste of cocktails. I enjoy the taste of beer. Which alcohol is really bad for you. That shouldn't be the fun thing that you do. But pot, which is actually not really bad for you at all, is just makes me sick. So like, I wish my body was the opposite. I wish like pot worked on me and alcohol didn't.
You know, it's interesting because I remember the first taste of alcohol I ever had. I never had a moment of like, oh, this is gross. How could you ever drink this, adults? I was like, from the minute I was like, ooh, I like this. And then especially when you start getting a little buzz and I was like, ooh, this is, I could devote my life to this. So I got to be careful. But I've
so
never.
Then you joined the Navy where you could devote your life to it.
You could. And I've never not liked alcohol, but I'm with you. Like if it's straight tequila or whiskey or beer or wine, I enjoy the taste of it. I enjoy it straight.
Yeah.
But I found that, it's bad for you, but it keeps you from being super productive. So it's like when I see a couple of drinks or when I see people having a good time, I don't just see the good time like I did, back when I was in the military, when I was growing up. What I see is like, that's a day of bed rest tomorrow, buddy. And I can't do that. I got too much shit to do.
Well, that's the joke, right? Is drinking is borrowing fun from tomorrow.
Yeah. Have you ever heard of the book called The Naked Mind?
I have. I think my wife has either read that book or plans to read that book. I know she's talked about it.
Yeah, I really enjoyed that book. I read it, and it's just about our psychological relationship to alcohol and our connection to alcohol. And I started drinking at such an early age. What's interesting is that your body chemically adapts to that substance within your mind. So if you're in a stressful situation and you tend to drink during that situation, your body and your mind acclimate to that extra chemical within the body. And so whenever you get in an anxious situation or stressful, then your mind's like, that's why whenever you go to a premiere or red carpet, or for me, whenever I get in a situation like that, I'm like, where's the booze? Good the thing.
See, I feel like that is the one area in which my body is trying to keep me alive because I don't have the instinct to drink to tamp down emotions. So like if I'm angry or upset or I'm rarely anxious, but in the rare occasions where I'm anxious, my brain doesn't go there. I don't like, oh, I need a drink. I only drink for the fun of it and for the flavor of it.
Mm-hmm.
I never drink to change my emotional state, which it's not because I'm awesome. It's not because I've like planned this. It's just my brain doesn't reach for that.
Do you drink to relax?
No, I mean, I typically drink when I'm already relaxed.
Okay.
Like if I'm already chilled out, I'm like feeling really like mellow, I'll be like, you know what would be great right now? A cocktail.
Mm-hmm.
But I never go, oh, I'm super stressed out, I better get a cocktail so that I can relax.
Mm-hmm.
That's not the direction my brain goes. My brain is always like, I'm stressed out right now, I'm going to fix the fucking problem that's causing me stress.
Mm-hmm.
Then when I fixed it and I'm relaxed, then I'll be like, oh man, I'm glad I solved that problem today. Now I can chill. Maybe I'll have a cocktail.
Right.
Like it's always like the dessert. It's never the meal for me.
Well, it's kind of the chicken or the egg, right? Because like when I'm grilling out, I'm on the back porch, sun setting, hard day of work. You know, I can smell the food cooking in the house and on the grill. Then I'm like, man, I'd like a drink right now, and kind of to really maximize the thing. But the whole part of the Neck and Mind, the whole book of the Neck and Mind, is like our ability to have the connection to fun or connection to conversation or everything is there. In that, and you know, you might be different in the fact that, but there are a lot of people that drink because it eases things and makes things more comfortable, as opposed to like really looking at that thing that's bothering you and dealing with it. You know, you kind of mask it with alcohol, and that's kind of the premise of the book.
Yeah, if I have a problem, I attack it, and I've been like that my whole life. If I have, like, you know, some people don't like to do physical therapy because it hurts. I have the problem where I'll overdo it, because when something hurts, I keep pushing it. Like if my ankle feels stiff, I'll just keep bending it, and I'm like, you'll notice I do this a lot with my hands, and that's because I've got a bunch of boxer breaks in my hands, and so my hands are always kind of stiff, and because they're stiff, I'm like constantly flexing them, because if something hurts, there's a part of my brain that goes, "Fuck you, you don't get to hurt me." And I'd like push it, and I'll like make it hurt more.
Right.
That's the masochism. Like I always say, anybody who enjoys boxing has to be both a sadist and a masochist. You have to kind of get off on the pain a little bit. I think I always just kind of got off on the pain a little bit. So, so if I have a problem, I don't drink to cover it up. I attack the problem instead, because I want it. I don't like when things force me to change my behavior.
Right. So. You're kind of, one thing I'm curious about is like, you're kind of, you're pretty locked down up there on your mountaintop home.
Yeah.
Do you, like, do you ever just go out? Do you go on walks, or do you go, like, do you ever, like, what do you do to get out to kind of get some breath of fresh air to?
I mean, we have 5 acres of woodland around our house, so there's plenty of places to wander around outside. And we've got a lot of wildlife, so Janae and I'll go out and we'll wander around, and we'll look for the deer, and we'll look for the rabbits, and you know, that kind of stuff. So that kind of outdoor stuff. Plus, we're like 20 minutes from grocery store, so whenever we need stuff, we'll kind of, you know, you make a day of it, right? It's like, let's go hit Costco and Safeway, and you know, all the other. Yeah,
you're
stuff
the one guy that doesn't get cabin fever. It's funny, like if I'm not out the door by early morning, I need to get out. I can't be inside. Crazy.
Really? I can go down into my screening room. If I got nothing to do for a day, I can go down in my screening room, turn on like a PlayStation or movies or whatever, and I could be down there, and Janae will come down and she'll be like, "You've been down here for 16 hours. Are you ever going to come out of this room?" I'm like, "Oh, I didn't even realize." I could lock myself in that dark room with some games and some movies and stuff, and I'm good. I can stay there all day.
That's how you stay up to date and watch everything.
Yeah, it is. Oh. Now, right on the other side, so where my screening room is, if you go out the door of the screening room, the room you walk into is the gym. So it's always there reminding me I should be working out. Like I come out of the screening room after like 16 hours in watching movie stuff, and there's all the exercise gear laid out there going, "Come on, you better jump on this bike for 20 minutes."
When you walk out, are you like, "Fuck you for judging me, Jim"?
A little bit, yeah. Yeah, I see you, weight bench. I see you.
We better get the show started before Joseph has a heart attack, because we promised him we'd be in and out.
2 hours later.
Yeah. Instead, we talked about alcohol and pot.
No, how random! Like there was no. We can go all over the place. I had no plan to talk about alcohol and pot. We just started talking about it.
I would guess that this is why when you and I are hanging out in person, nobody else wants to hang out with us, because our conversation is random bullshit like this.
Yeah, but that's another.
Everybody's like, "All right, Ty and Wes are talking. Let's get out of here."
That's another time I really like to drink is when we're hanging out. That's all, me, you, and Dan. You know, it's always nice to have a couple of drinks in the rain, you know. But I love it. I miss it. You know, that's a good thing to have people you like hanging out with and drinking with. All right. So what are we talking about today, Ty?
So there's this old show that nobody watches now called The Expanse. So we were talking about old movies nobody watches, like Raiders of the Lost Ark, right? Nobody's ever seen that movie. You and I talk about it. We want to bring things that nobody has ever watched really into the light. So there's this show called The Expanse.
Although The Expanse has been trending. I heard somebody texted me yesterday.
Nonstop.
Yeah, somebody texted me yesterday and said The Expanse is trending. And I was like, why? Do you know why?
For like a week now. It's been trending.
Why?
Yeah. Initially, I think it was because the new telescope came online and they were showing these amazing shots. And for whatever reason, somebody at NASA or JPL or whoever was posting the pictures tagged The Expanse in the pictures, and they were getting retweeted a lot and that kind of stuff. I know we have Expanse fans at NASA, and I know we have Expanse fans at JPL. So somebody there tagged The Expanse in all these amazing pictures, and I think that's where it started. But then it was the next thing that happened was we were a question on Jeopardy, and everybody got it wrong. So tons of people were replying to that going, "Oh, come on, you guys don't know the answer to this," and like tagging The Expanse in that. And then once something starts trending, it just keeps trending, because then a whole bunch of people are like, "Hey, The Expanse is trending. I wish it was trending because of season 7." And they're doing those kinds of tweets and stuff. So I think it just, once the ball got rolling, it just kept rolling a bit.
It's so cool. People text me like, The Expanse is trending right now. And I was like, what? How's it? What are we talking about today, Ty?
Well, so this little known show called The Expanse, season 5, episode 7. One of the two episode block here written by Dan Nowak, very famous writer, friend of the show. And this is the first episode directed by Marisol Adler, who was a new director in season 5, who did 2 episodes for us.
And so we were talking about earlier, we've covered this episode before, and Joseph will put a link up. And in the episode, we talk about everything that happens within the episode. We talk about the science of Naomi jumping out into the space vacuum, which is the topic for our top 5 today. So Ty and I thought one of the things that we could talk about that we haven't really done a deep focus dive in is the relationship between Naomi and Marco and their son. So, we were going to kind of do a Kramer versus Kramer episode today. And really just kind of dive into that, and because there's so much emotional fallout within this episode between their relationship, and so much manipulation by Marco. And Ty, do you want to give us a little background on like how they met and what the relationship was like in the beginning, and then what was the beginning of the downfall?
Yeah. So we only imply it in the show. We never really make it specific, but the implication is that they were together on Palace Station, both working for a mining company in a refinery. You hear Marco talk about when he and Sin were working at the refinery, and they'd party all night and then go to their shift the next day. And you hear Naomi talking about her days, when she was very, very young, working these jobs on these asteroid stations. So the implication is that they met there, whether it was at the job or hanging out in the bars or whatever. But they were both very young when they met. And just based on her age in the show and the age of Philip, it seems like, it was one of those things where they met very young, she got pregnant, and they decided to stay together for the kid is the idea.
Were they having relations out of wedlock?
Yes, because
but we don't condone this.
This is
the Expanse
future.
Does not condone this.
This is the future. Yeah, but the other thing about Palace Station, and this is one of the things we show in the show, is when you see the asteroid, it has like this spinning wheel sticking out of the side of the asteroid, a spin station stuck to the side of the asteroid. So spin stations are one of the few places where it's actually safe to gestate and have a baby, because you need constant gravity through the gestation period for the baby to develop correctly. So the fact that they were on Palace, that they were in the spin station, that they had this consistent, reliable gravity is why she, could have, she could carry the pregnancy to term and have the baby.
That's a great detail. I mean, that's something I didn't think about, like what would pregnancy be like for belters? And they had to go to these spin stations to gestate and have their babies.
Yeah. I mean, you need consistent gravity. I mean, our bodies for millions or billions of years now, evolution has been developing in gravity. And so much of the things that our bodies
it's
just
only
expect
been
to
thousands
be there.
of years, Ty.
Yeah. Okay. So for those of us who don't live in Georgia, we know that it's been billions of years, but there's so much about biology that just expects gravity to be there, and so many systems that don't work right and don't develop correctly when gravity's not there. So, obviously nobody has ever gotten pregnant in 0G, at least not yet. And so we don't 100% know all of the things that would go wrong. But, if you do your research, most scientists agree that carrying a pregnancy to term in zero gravity would be either fatal or very bad for the fetus.
So within the Expanse universe, is that an issue in terms of like if there's belters in the outer side of the belt and they get pregnant, is there issues with them having baby? If there's belters that don't have the means to get to a spin station, or is that a problem you've confronted?
Yeah. So there's two parts of that. There's two solutions. One is nobody gets accidentally pregnant in space, right? You would never allow people to work on spaceships that have long periods of no gravity that could accidentally get pregnant, which is one of the, so whenever people talk about the first episode of the show and they talk about what Ade was trying to tell Holden, there's something you should know just before she dies. And everybody's like, oh, she was going to tell him she was pregnant. No, she wasn't going to tell him she was pregnant. Nobody who works on a spaceship is going to get accidentally pregnant. You would never allow that to happen because one, you're going to spend long periods in 0G. And two, when you're not spending long periods in 0G, you might be spending long periods at high G, both of which would be damaging or fatal to a fetus. So no, she wasn't fucking pregnant. Stop saying that. That's ridiculous. But the other side of it is,
I think she was going to say that she didn't like him. Just
no. My theory is that she was going to say she was sleeping with Shed. Yeah, Shed's got the good drugs. I've been sleeping with him.
Cold blooded. She's like, before I die, I just want you to know I was cheating on you with some dipshit down the hall.
Well, no, the thing would be, Holden, there's something you should know. I've been sleeping with Shed. You should really get tested.
Have you had your
it's
HPV
very
vaccination?
responsible.
Boom!
Yeah,
she blows up at that point.
She's definitely wanting him to.
She's about to tell him what STD she has, and then she blows up. So now Holden has no idea what he's been infected with.
That would explain some things about him and Naomi.
Holden, does it burn when you pee? Because she explodes.
If you see some strange red dots, you should bang. Yeah. The other side of this is, so no, nobody's getting pregnant accidentally. But the other side of this is when you decide to have a family, when family planning begins, you would make arrangements, right? Like, we're going to go to this station that has like spin gravity, or we're going to go to this place that has artificial gravity of some kind, like either, a large moon that has some amount of gravity, or a spin station somewhere, something like that. And then you would plan to, gestate the baby there. And so that's part of what we talk about in the books is Ceres Station is one of the places people go to have families, to have kids. And that's why so many people live on Ceres, because it's been spun up to a third
So
energy.
Marco and Naomi made a conscious choice, or were they already there? And then
they were already on
Palace. So
yeah. And Palace has a spin station.
You can accidentally have a baby on a spin station. So that might not have been a planned baby.
Yeah. But I feel like because they were not working on spaceships, because they were working in a space station and they were very, very young. Yeah. She accidentally got pregnant is how I always pictured it.
And so, it was an accident, but one thing I've always been curious about is what was young Marco like? Because Naomi is pretty sharp, and for her to fall so deeply in love with somebody, even if he had that narcissistic personality, if there was a whiff of that, or that whiff of his level of manipulation with his relationships and everything, what was he like? Did he have some of that early on and she was just blind to it because of his hair? His beautiful
yes,
name?
That beautiful hair covers over a lot of sins. That's and let's be honest with ourselves here. When you're a teenager, even if you're later teens, 16, 17, 18, whatever, the number one thing that turns on your hormones is looks.
Yes.
Male, female, doesn't matter. That is the thing that turns your crank. And he is a beautiful man. Beautiful, beautiful man. So you could see why young Naomi was like, I need a piece of that right there. Because that's just a good looking man. But the other thing is,
it's so funny when you're younger. That is the criteria. It's like that thing. It's the thing that gets your attention, that pulls you in, and you forgive so much. And then when you get older, it's kind of like, it's like the beautiful flower, and you get caught in that fly trap, right? And then when you get older, you're like, you've been around enough fly traps to be like, what else you got going on before I get caught in that fly trap again?
Exactly. My favorite description of that is Daniel, my writing partner. He says, at a certain point, he got old enough. He stopped caring as much about who he went to bed with and started caring more about who he woke up next to. And I think that's a great description. It's like, if you don't want to wake up next to that person, you reach a point in your life where like, I don't want to wake up next to you. We're not going to bed.
And Daniel has so many like really cool quotable, like he speaks in those sound bites like that.
He does. Anyway, but what I was going to say is narcissists, and we see this in politics all the time. Narcissists are incredibly charismatic, or can be, because narcissism comes across as confidence. It comes across as like assertiveness and power, right? But it really is just narcissism. But when you're around it, what you see it as is like, oh, that person's so confident, they're so powerful. And you want a piece of that. When you're around people who are that confident and that powerful, you want to connect yourself to it. You want a piece of what they have. Naomi even talks about this when she talks about it with Holden. He was passionate. He was a fighter. He was a revolutionary, right? That's very romantic. If you're a young person and you're connected to this person who's very confident and they're very powerful and they're passionate and they have causes that they're fighting for, and you get to be part of that, you can see how a person who is less mature, less seasoned, gets swept up in that, in the vortex.
And he probably had that level of manipulating skills at that, when they were younger and they met, and he had that. Also, a pure narcissistic personality, there's a bit of a delusion too. That's where the confidence comes from, because they don't see anybody else's needs or anything around them. They only see their needs. They only see what they want. They only see the world and everybody in it circles around them. They're the sun. And so when you have that level of delusion, you don't see the obstacles. You don't see your limitations. So you do have that pure confidence. So other people were like, Jesus Christ, if they walk like that and feel they feel like they're that way, then wow, there must be something to it, because normal people are like, they see all the obstacles, they see the things that they have and the things that they're dealing with. Have you figured out that I was a narcissist yet, or is that?
Well, so all actors are. I mean, it's a requirement for the job.
Right. Do you think Marco was a revolutionary who truly was moved and believed in the cause, or he was a revolutionary because he loved the accoutrements of being the leader? And
I think Marco's a red carpet. I think Marco's a red carpet guy. I think when he joined the movement and discovered he had a talent, There's a scene in the show where Avasarala is watching a video of Marco when he was a younger man, rallying some people on Palace Station, rallying a group, talking about why the inners hate them and what they need to do to fight back. And in the scene, the way it's written, it's supposed to be written so that Marco's finding his voice in the scene. That like he starts out, he's ranting, and then he sees the crowd is paying attention to him. He feels the feedback loop of their power as they focus on him, and he starts throwing it back at them, and you see him build up into this moment. I think the first time that happened to him, it was a drug. I think the first time he climbed up on a box and did his speech and felt the audience sending all their energy to him, he just fed on it like a drug. And he has been feeding
because
on that
I always
drug
saw
ever
Marco
since.
as the revolution being a vehicle for him becoming a star. And those are the scariest people. I mean, if people want to go into entertainment because they want, to all eyes on them, red carpets or anything like that, that's different than becoming a politician because you want all eyes on you or everything, because then you don't care. Politicians are supposed to look out for the public good. They're supposed to, and if you don't give a shit, and you go there, you just want to be a star. Those are the scariest ones to me.
Well, because you have power without compassion. And anytime you have power without compassion, it's incredibly scary. It's a scary combination.
So, but then she had to get some sense of who Marco is because she had to leave. She left her child. How old was Philip when she left?
He was a baby. He was an infant. Yeah.
To me, it's very much, and I talk about Kramer versus Kramer because I think it does such a great job of illustrating this. And it's also the first time that I saw a situation where the woman leaves, and she's like, basically, I'm going to die. If I don't leave, I'm going to jump out of the window. I know that I'm losing control. I love my son. And I think even Naomi's lines in this was, leaving my son was not as hurtful as staying with you. And so there's a desperate situation within this. And so that Naomi had to figure out the level. I guess it was with her killing all those people.
Yeah, that is the inciting incident. In real life, there's never just one thing that causes you to change or become a different person. But there is a shorthand in fiction, a shorthand in movies and TV and books where you do that to explain why a person becomes who they are. And for Naomi, that shorthand moment is the destruction of that ship with her code. So Marco tricks her. He gets her to write this code that can remotely disable the systems on a fusion reactor. And what he tells her is, we're gonna do this. It'll give us the power to disable ships that are coming after us. It'll give us the power to hold the inner ships for ransom, where we can disable their drive, and if they don't pay us off, we can leave it disabled, or if they pay us off, we can turn it back on. So he spins her this story about how this is going to be really helpful to the belt. She writes this code, and she's already a genius engineer at that point. She writes this code, and what he uses it for instead is to disable the magnetic bottle on a ship that is at dock, so that it blows up, it kills everyone on the ship and heavily damages the dock that it was docked to. And he does this as a terrorist attack, right? To hurt the inner planets, which he sees as justified, and many in his group also see as justified, that we have to start fighting back. This is how we do it. But Naomi only sees the murders. She only sees the death of those hundreds of people. And she can't live with it. She can't live with the guilt of that.
Because she was tricked, right?
She was tricked. And now she feels the blood on her hands. She feels that she has killed all of these people. Because even when you're tricked into killing somebody, that doesn't take the guilt away, right? She still feels like it was her fault, even though he tricked her.
It's like the worst thing you can do to somebody, to trick them to murder people, to put blood on their hands.
To put blood on their hands. Yep. So when he plans to continue doing this, she won't go along with it. She leaves. She says she has to get away. He uses her son, he uses Philip, this infant, as a hostage. Says, well, I'm going to hide your son, which we discover later. It's Sind who hid the son, who she considered one of her best friends, hides her son from her. Philip's saying, if you leave, you'll never see him again. You'll never see your kid again. Trying to keep her, because a narcissist, like if it was you or I, you would be like, oh, I see why this hurt you, Naomi. Maybe we can work through this together. He doesn't see it that way. He's a narcissist. He sees it through the lens of himself. Oh, you're leaving me? You don't get to leave me. I'm going to do this thing to maintain control over you.
It's that moment in The Godfather when Al Pacino, when he says, "What makes you think you can walk away from me? Who do you think I am?" You know?
Exactly. It's
and where,
that
and
moment.
you know, in that moment, Al Pacino doesn't love his wife. He doesn't love his kids. He loves the power that he has over them.
Yeah, exactly. And in the books, we describe her leaving Philip behind as the leg she had to chew off to get out of the trap. You know, it's like a wolf caught in a wolf trap. Wolves will chew off their own leg to get out of that trap. And she describes it that way because it is a thing that you will carry the scars of that for the rest of your life. You will always be a three-legged dog because you had to chew off a vital part of yourself to get away. And that's how she views it. She had to do permanent lifetime damage to herself that she will never recover from to get away from the trap Marco had her in. And it's brutal. I mean, it's meant to be brutal that sometimes we put other people in our lives in traps like that. And it's always, there's no way out of that. That doesn't cause you permanent damage.
And so was she living haunted by the guilt of Philip and leaving him, and that's what motivated her to come back at this point to find him, because she had to just see him one more time, or she had to make a chance to save him? Was it her coming back to save Philip?
Yes. She's I think what when she finds him and she sees the video that Fred Johnson has found for her, that tells her where Philip is. What she's saying is he's an adult now. If I make an argument to him about why he should leave, about why what his father is doing is bad, he can hear me now. And he's old enough that he can get away. And people are like, why would she do that? It's so dangerous. Of course it's dangerous. Of course she knows it's dangerous. She didn't go into this blind. She didn't go into this thinking that it was going to be easier, that she was going to get away unscarred. She went into this knowing this might cost her life. She absolutely knew that. But she's like, if I have a chance, if there's a Hail Mary pass that my son can get out of this terrible situation that he's in, if I can at least partly rectify the damage that I did when I left and get him out of this awful situation, I have to try, even if it costs me my life. And that's why she doesn't take Holden with her. That's why she tells him he can't come. She's protecting him. She said she's not going to say to him, I might get killed doing this and I can't bring you with me because you'll die too. She has to frame it differently because Holden won't be able to hear that argument. So she frames it differently to him, but really that's what's happening there. She's saying, if I bring you, we'll both die. This way, I can justify my own death to take this chance. I can't justify anyone else's death to do it. So yeah.
And the worst kind, I think Marco at his worst, besides hurling rocks at Earth and killing millions of people, is, when you're a parent, you realize the kind of power you wield over your kids. And the love that you have for your kids keep you from abusing that power.
Sometimes.
Well, if you love your kids.
If you're a good parent, yes.
And his manipulation is heartbreaking to me, because the way a son looks at their father and the way that, Philip puts him up in this, pedestal, and he's completely caught up in the illusion of what Marco is. And Marco knows he has this control over him, and he completely fucks with his mind and bends his own son's mind to serve whatever is in Marco's best interest, whatever Marco needs in that moment. And it's like, Jesus Christ, if he doesn't have boundaries and he'll do this to his own son, he's a barely human.
Yeah. There are parents who are this awful to their kids. This is not entirely fictional. But it is awful. And like you said, barely human. I mean, I don't know about barely human. I guess what I would say is the spectrum of how humans can behave. This is putting the needle in the red on the wrong side.
Yeah.
This is
a good point, Ty. I mean,
damaging to a kid as you can get.
Yeah. And that's a good point, because the reality is like, it's all a spectrum, right? And even the good parents, they have a little bit of the bad spectrum within there. It's just being a human being. And so he's just, he's got the needle buried down in the red side.
Buried in the bottom. Yep.
Yeah. In the bottom. And it's kind of horrifying to see. So does at the end of this, is Naomi made the decision like Philip is beyond saving? I can't do that, so now I need to save my new family, and that's her before her goes to her choice.
Yeah, because two things happen here. One, she knows that Marco has already tried to kill the Rossi and her new family, and is continuing to try to do that. She knows that that's happening, and she wants to help them. She wants to save them. And on the other side, Philip hit her in the face. That scene is so important for where Naomi goes, because it is the moment when she says, "Oh, I can't save this kid. He's too far gone. He's too much of his father now. There's nothing I will be able to do to bring him back from the brink of this." And you have to have that. You have to have that moment for her to go to the next place she goes. And it has to be heartbreaking. People are like, well, Naomi keeps crying. I'm like, you know what? Think about if your child was in the most dire danger that you can imagine your child being in, where their life is in danger, where their soul is in danger. The every element of what you love about them is about to be destroyed. And you are doing everything you can to save them. And something happens where you have to admit, my child cannot be saved. They're too far gone. I have to abandon them. If you really put yourself in that position and you're not blubbering like a baby, you're saying about, you're not human. I don't think you're human. If you can picture yourself in that situation and not see that this would be the most devastating moment of your entire life. You're a parent. If you put yourself in that position, that would be the most, I know for a fact how much you love your kids. That would be the most devastating moment of your entire life. Without question. Right? So that's where she's at right now. She's at that moment.
And then she jumps in the airlock, and you set that up properly where Sen, at one point, she was going to kill herself. She was so depressed about what was going on and everything. So Sen goes in there thinking that that's what she's going to do. And she jumps. Which brings us to today's top 5. Do you want to introduce the top 5, Joseph?
Today we will be doing the best vacuums space scenes. So there's a lot of fun stuff in here.
There's a lot of these. Yep. And most of them get it wrong, but some of them get it right.
Do you want me to read them, or do you want to, Wes?
I'll read them. 2001, ejects from pod. Aliens, airlock. Apollo 13, dream sequence. Armageddon, drilling on the asteroid. Event Horizon, airlock. Ooh, got some Event Horizon representing.
Yeah.
Gravity, fire extinguisher. Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 1. Mission to Mars, Tim Robbins dies. Helmet, Outland. Hell yeah, Outland. Spaceballs, suck to blow. Star Trek, First Contact, Fighting the Borg. Sunshine, Kappa's Jump. The Martian, Total Recall, The Eyes.
Yep.
Now, so
is that the whole list?
As soon as is that the whole list? Do you have anything to add, Ty?
Yes, that is the pool.
So it's not just aliens; it's also Alien, because she blows the first xenomorph out an airlock as well.
Oh yeah, on her
Ripley,
on her escape pod.
Yeah, on the escape pod. Yeah, Ripley is a big fan of taking xenomorphs and blowing them out the fucking airlock, man. That's her move.
I don't know if this belongs on the list, but every time I think vacuum, I think of Total Recall in the in the eyes and the blowing up.
Yeah.
I mean, 2001, in terms of being one of the greatest science fiction movies ever made, and some of the most beautiful cinematography ever seen on film. And when's the last time you've seen 2001?
I rewatched it a couple of years ago, so it's fairly fresh in my mind. But let me ask you this, Wes. What are we going for? Are we going for the most fun, exciting airlock sequences, or are we going for the most realistic airlock sequences? What do we mean by
you know what? And that's a good thing to clarify, because if we're doing the most fun and good time and movie and cinematic, that's going to be a completely different list. And then if we're doing most accurate, but I think in the sense of The Expanse, and I could go either way, I could do the fun or whatever, but in the sense of The Expanse, one of the things that The Expanse is known for is its accuracy. And I think about probably the amount of time and effort that Narain and you and everybody on the show that put into making these air vacuum sequences accurate. Maybe we can honor that by doing the most accurate and realistic space vacuum list.
Well, there's not very many of those, unfortunately. So 2001 is one of the first movies to do an accurate airlock ejection moment. Apollo 13, the dream sequence, of course, incredibly realistic because that's an actual astronaut that's thinking about that happening. So,
well, don't forget about
Gravity gets a lot of.
I mean, in terms of accuracy,
Spaceballs, of course, is Spaceballs is the most accurate science fiction movie ever made. I mean, that's just a fact. So The Martian, of course, works very hard to be incredibly accurate with its stuff.
Oh yeah, The Martian. Yeah.
Gravity is a beautiful movie, and I love it. It plays fast and loose with the science because that's not what Denis cared about. Wasn't trying to make the most accurate movie. He was trying to make a terrifying movie about being in space. So there's some nice accurate stuff in there, but there's also some hand wavy stuff.
What we could do, Ty, is because we have 4, up there right now. What we could do is we have, Aliens is fun, but the last one we can make the fun one. So we got 3 really accurate, and then we got 1 fun, and then we can have 1 more fun.
I got to tell you, I loved the first Guardians of the Galaxy movie.
I did too.
I loved that movie. I think that director might be one of my favorite fun directors working right now. And the scene where Quill jumps out to save Gamora, that hit me in the feels, man. That got me. I was like, hell yeah. You got to go save your girl, man. You got to go. So that one would be high on my list for fun. Even though it's not particularly accurate, it's definitely one that got me in the feels.
I agree. And I remember when I watched that movie, and I was a big fan of that movie too. But so some of these movies are fun movies, and the airlock scenes are fun, but not as fun. But you acknowledge that it was a fun movie, so you say it's a fun movie. The specific sequence in Guardian of the Galaxy when he jumps out into space and everything, that was all really great and really fun, and had a whole sequence arc within him jumping out of space. So that's definitely something to think about as we go through these. I'm going to go with no on Armageddon.
And I give Event Horizon a lot of shit. There's a lot of stuff I like in that movie, and there's a lot of stuff that just makes me angry.
I love Event Horizon. Movie. I fucking love that.
But I will say that the flying out into space stuff in his Event Horizon is not the worst version of getting thrown out into space I've ever seen. Yes, the visual effects are not great there, but it's, it was a low budget movie. I get it. I don't blame a low budget movie for having low budget special effects. Event Horizon, I would say that it's airlock stuff, it's getting blown out into space stuff is very fun.
We need to throw some love to Outland.
And Outland, yes. Now, Outland, that sequence makes no sense. Doesn't matter. It's still awesome. The thing with Total Recall, I would put that on the list too, because it's not just one sequence. There are so many scenes of people getting blown out onto Mars. Like at the beginning when the 2 weeks scene, when they're going through the entry point into Mars and they start shooting and they blow out the glass and everybody's getting sucked outside. There's that scene. There's the scene where Richter and his buddy are shooting at Quaid when he's on when he's climbing around inside the dome, which is very much like the Outland scene. They blow out the glass. Or no, they're going to blow out the glass. The guy's like, stop, you're going to blow out the glass. You'll kill us all. And then there's the scenes of them getting blown out on the surface of Mars in a dream sequence and in the real life sequence where Cohagen gets blown out on the surface. that movie just loves putting people outside and having their eyeballs pop out of their heads.
Yeah, it's part of the. What about Star Wars when they're like hanging on to shit and it's like sucking them out and it's like it gets real windy. The wind machines come on and sucks everything, blows everything.
The wind machines come on. Yeah. You could definitely. I mean, Luke in
Return of the Jedi.
Empire Strikes Back.
Oh no, Empire. You're right.
No,
You're
in
right.
Empire Strikes Back when he's hanging on the bottom of the. Hanging on the bottom of the thing when he's getting sucked through those tubes. I mean, it's not really an airlock per se because they are in atmosphere and that gas giant. The one that's not on this list, and I appreciate you not putting on the list, is that terrible scene in which Star Wars movie is it where Leia gets sucked out the airlock and then uses the Force to fly back?
Oh, that was.
I deleted that one, Ty, just so you know.
Okay. I hate that movie and I hate that
Is it
sequence.
The Force Awakens?
So I'm very glad that's not I don't remember which one it is. I've only seen it once and I've tried to wipe it from my mind.
You know, I think Outland would be a great television show.
Well, it's okay. So you know what Outland, the television show, is? It's Detective Miller, the television show. Because when I've told you the story, right? When we first took Expanse out to the networks, one of the networks that wanted to buy it wanted to buy. They didn't want the alien mystery part of it. They just wanted Detective Miller solving crimes on series. So we elected not to go with that version. But Detective Miller solving crimes on series is Outland the show. Yeah.
And that could be a really fun show, you know? And then, you know, Spaceballs, I just love everything about, you know, if we wanted to do like a direct parody, you know, and like just have one to be subversive on that list, we could do Spaceballs.
I love Spaceballs, so you don't have to convince me.
All right, that's got to be the fun
Spaceballs
one.
cracks me the hell up.
That's got to be the fun one. I remember the first time I saw Spaceballs and just laughing silly when the spaceship kept going and going and going, and you know it's a pretty ballsy joke, you know, like you know, and everybody got it. Everybody just got it. Like it went and it just kept going and going and going.
Yep. And everybody in the theater started laughing about halfway through the sequence.
Yeah.
Because they just,
And it was long enough where the laughing would go away and then it would come back because the ship just kept on going. It just stuck with it.
Now, if we can talk about the worst ones, Mission to Mars, because Mission to Mars is trying to pretend that it's a little realistic. That scene where he takes off his helmet and his head instantly freezes is the dumbest fucking thing I've ever seen on screen. It's so dumb.
I never saw Mission to Mars.
Oh my God. It's so bad.
What's the tone?
Bad.
What's the genre?
Okay. So, you know how like Pirates of the Caribbean is they took one of the rides and turned it into a movie? Yeah. So there was a ride at Disneyland called Mission to Mars. Right. Back in the like I remember going on that ride in the 70s. I don't know how long they kept it, but when I was a little kid in the 70s, I went on that ride. Mm-hmm. But you basically just sat in like this big round room that was pretending to be a rocket. And there were screens that showed what was going on outside and stuff. So they turned that into a movie. Mm-hmm. It's a terrible movie. It's just aggressively dumb. Yeah. There's a scene where Tim Robbins is like floating away from the ship and they're like trying to save him. And he's like, no, you can't save me. You have to let me go. And they're like, no, we're going to come save you. And so to convince them to let him go, he takes off his helmet. And rather than just choking to death, which is what would happen, you would just choke to death, you would no air. His head instantly freezes. Like literally his head turns into an ice cube.
Is it just like a big ice cube coming out of the helmet? Does it freeze in the shape like an ice sculpture of his head coming out of the thing? Like he's Iceman and all of a sudden?
Oh my God, it's so fucking dumb. It's so dumb. Yeah. Anytime that space instantly freezes stuff just makes me angry. So yeah,
I like those sci-fi movies, like those old school ones that used to come on TV, like Buck Rogers and those things where space was just like night. They were just like out in a night sky, like the same rules of being in a night sky were the same rules in space. It was all right. How close were we? How close were they, Joseph? What we picked?
Well, yeah. What did the patrons like? They like Aliens, of course. They like Total Recall. See, very fun. 2001, great. They like Spaceballs and Event Horizon. So yeah.
Wow.
They didn't pick any of the truly terrible ones.
They know us.
Good for them. Good for the patrons.
They're getting to know us so well.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that was fun. That was a fun sequence. Thank you, Patreon members. Thank you, Joseph. Thank you, Ty. Thanks for hanging out with us.
Thanks for letting us talk for 47 hours about pot and alcohol.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you for that. I'm sure Joseph will cut into that a lot. And yeah, so, we're getting down to the wire with these episodes. And, we would love to hear from you of things that we've done in the past that you've enjoyed, like the John Carpenter or the live viewing of Die Hard, or any other ideas of things that you would find fun and content and things to talk about. We would, definitely be open to experimenting and trying new things. But thank you for your support. Thanks for hanging out. Say goodbye, Ty.
Goodbye, Ty.